Good morning. My name is Alek Tarkowski. I work at the digital center, which we usually call Centrum Cyfrowe. In Polish, we use the Polish word. I'm also a member and vice chairman of the Polish Coalition for Open Education. And I'd like to welcome you to the panel on opening up Poland. First, maybe I'll introduce our panelists. We had some changes at the very end, so the program might not be accurate. With us today, our Professor Zbigniew, who already was introduced. He's a professor of physics here at the university, and what's important, he's both responsible for policy and for practice on open education, so we're very happy to have you here. Secondly, Jan Kozłowski from the Department of Innovation and Growth at the Ministry of Science and Higher Education. Krzysztof, Kamil Śliwowski, who coordinates with me Creative Commons Poland, is the chairman of our Coalition for Open Education, and Krzysztof Kurowski, who's director of the application unit of the Poznań Supercomputing and Networking Center, which is a public institution, part of the Polish Academy of Science, which was one of the leading partners of the big open textbooks project, because of which Poland can be called one of the leaders of open education around the world. Thank you very much to all of you for joining our panel. Before we start the discussion, I'd like to make some introductory remarks. So, first important thing to know is that we won't be talking how to open up Poland. Poland has already been opened. We have a success story to tell, but then you'll see that we always try to come up with new ideas how to move ahead, and probably we'll be also discussing how to do more. The reason for that, and you must know this, is that Poles have some problems with acknowledging success of our education system, and it's success that goes beyond open education. Poland hosted last year a pretty big conference, international conference of educational leaders from 30 countries around the world, and the keynote speech was given by, at that time, Director General of the European Commission Directorate on Education and Culture, Javier Prats-Monte, and he told this story that when he talks in Brussels with policymakers, there's one country that consistently doesn't believe Poland had educational success, and that's Poland. You know, we insist on we are modest. We always try to do more. So I'm joking a bit. I actually think we will be able to show that we have a success, but this is part also of a challenge, being inside, looking at all the small details that we're facing, and switching the perspective to talk about the big things happening in Poland. That's what we'll try to do. We'll have a short round of introductory speeches by our panelists, but maybe I'd like to just set the stage and give you some basic information about how open education has been developing in Poland. I might be a bit biased as I'm the member of the coalition, but I believe that the shaping of the Coalition for Open Education in 2008 was one of the first milestones, and it's important that it was a milestone on the side of the civic society, of grassroots action. The coalition was formed by 4 institutional members. It was the Polish Association of Libraries, the Polish chapter of Wikimedia, Creative Commons Poland, and an NGO called Modern Poland Foundation, whose president will be giving the keynote on the 3rd day of the conference. And today the conference group, the coalition group, Kamil will probably talk about it, to 30 partners, institutional partners, including the AGH University. And that was sort of the seed that started it, that started a discussion on open education in Poland. The next important step was a small project called Polish School, Włącz Polskę, Turn on Poland. It was a program for Polish schools abroad. We have a relatively large diaspora, quite visible, for instance, in the United States, and we have a system of schools for the Poles living abroad. And one of the first significant open educational resources was a set of textbooks for these schools. And I always felt that this was significant. This was sort of a good lab to test certain solutions beyond the main educational system, make some experiments that were at the same time, so to say, a foot in the door, as we say. So you made the first step, and then you can point to it. And when 2 years later, in 2011, the debate around textbooks in Poland started, and we started talking about opening them up. There was already a previous case to describe. And this is probably the most important project. It's called the Digital School. It was a complex project for IT and education, for digital education, therefore the name. which started as a project to introduce computers into school, you know, a kind of typical infrastructural intervention that's often criticized as being not good enough. And over a year of discussions, which involved not just the government, but also experts from academia, from civil society, from educational organizations, this sort of blossomed into a much more complex project which had four elements. It had an infrastructural component, equipment, but it also included teacher training. It also included, to some extent, connectivity issues. And importantly for us, it included a resources component. This component was the big open e-textbooks project, a bit about which we will be talking. I'm sure Krzysztof Kurowski will talk more about it since his institution runs the open e-textbooks platform. And the project was initiated in early 2012 with the end date of 2015. So in a way, meeting today in 2016, this is a very good time for us to talk about open education in Poland because a certain story arc, if you will, ended. We spent 5 years being uncertain, us being polled whether this will work. And a lot of people believe those textbooks were not be created, that there will be too big of a backlash from commercial publishers, that then people start saying maybe public institutions which were creating the resources are unable to create textbooks. I believe we all proved them wrong, and today we have this platform. And in a way, we're also therefore in a new moment where you can ask questions. So, okay, when you have a big open educational platform that provides open textbooks in digital form to all the students, what is the next step? One other thing I need to mention, all this is mainly happening at the level of elementary and lower secondary education, or what you would call K-12. In higher education, we have exemplary universities like the AGH, but to be frank, there are sort of relatively few of them. We have a very interesting story of digital libraries, which in my belief have been a driving force for a lot of these discussions on openness, on sharing of resources, on modern approach to digital technology in science, in education, in cultural heritage. But somehow in the end, the story about higher education in Poland, we're not there yet, the way we are with school education. Maybe this is something we can discuss. But mainly, I hope in our discussion we can focus on sort of talking about the successes and lessons learned of the last 5 or 7 years and talking about what's next. And now I would like to give the floor to our panelists, and we'll have Professor Kąkol speak again, and as promised, he'll say a bit more about open education at this university.
I think I would like to give some information about the progress and development in open education at our university. Our university has joined Open Education Consortium in 2011, but of course, much earlier we have identified the necessity of introducing of open education practices at our university. We knew it, we were building and promoting this for years, and it finally resulted in 2010 in the first in Poland repository of open educational resources, books, courses, interactive programs, and so on. This was the first step, but very important. We showed to the public that it is doable, that people are willing to do so. The next step, of course, we are not sleeping. For the coming years, we are trying to develop it. And we move from the, let's call it static repository materials to the more dynamic system. This dynamic system was prepared on the IT platform at our university, and it refers to the system in which you can create your own textbooks or course books from scratches. Now we've got, it's simply like building the house from the bricks. We are providing the bricks nowadays in 2 fields, in physics and mathematics. There are over 500 of such bricks. You can take them and combine them in any textbook, or you can incorporate it into your textbook in any way you want. You don't have to be a specialist in the IT technology just to use it. It's very simple and very clear to use it. in this way, we can build an individual courses, which is very important. It will come in the following discussion for the courses that are very unique. Nowadays, we have to open so many unique courses that are not supported on the market with the proper books. So then we can build it in the system. Of course, this open AGH platform is not the only software that you are using. Of course, we use a Moodle as a basic e-learning platform. Our e-learning center is offering Mahara web applications to build electronic portfolio or Redmine project management web application. We are using open meeting software for online training and web conferences. But I would like to point your attention to the fact that we are not limiting ourselves to work with a student of the universities. We definitely want to go much wider. And we are preparing and developing special programs for the students of the secondary schools. This is the source of our students. We have to keep the contact with them. And let me mention our biggest and the newest project. This is called Educational Cloud. In the pilot phase of this program, 20 schools of our region were involved. In the full program, it's about 120 schools and students that are involved. And this is based on a direct cooperation with Krakowie universities. AGH is the leader, and it's based on the open education materials, open access. What we are building? We are trying to build a new channels for delivering this open education and educational application, educational software. We got the multimedia communication with all the school, try to build not only the educational but also the social community, just to join them, to exchange the best practices. What we try, basically, we try to introduce a new paradigm to those schools, just to tell them how to use technology-enhanced learning and open materials. And finally, I would like to say one thing about the educational system in Poland. We are a state university. It means we are supported by the public funds. Students in Poland are not paying a tuition at the public schools. And of course, education is extremely expensive. So somebody has to pay it, and the taxpayers are doing this. This money is distributed by the Minister of Science and Higher Education. And we think that our duty is that we will do something, that this money will be given back to the society, that it will go to the society. And preparing the open education material and providing an open access to all our materials is the one way to do it. And I think all the public universities are supposed to do it. It seems to be our duty, and all the universities should follow this way, because we think our society is spending a lot of money, and it's not a very wealthy society still. So it's a big challenge and big effort for our community. Should have something back, and this is what we are doing, and we think it's our duty. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, okay, this is. Can you hear me? It's a very soft mic. So we'll continue with the round of presentations. I also wanted to say we'll have time for questions if you have any later in our discussion. So staying at the level of higher education and academia, I would like to now ask Mr. Kozłowski to talk about a bit broader context from the perspective of ministry, which looks at open education also from the perspective of other things open, like open access and open data.
Well, first I would like to stay a little with AGH. Well, AGH probably is well the best university in Poland as concern of application of knowledge triangle concept. Knowledge triangle, as we all know, puts stress not only on keeping a balance between education, research, and innovation, but require guaranteeing kind of synergy between them. And one of the most known fruits of knowledge triangle are startups made by or made together with students and alumni, and there are several examples of that kind. And of course, it's not the only aspect of knowledge triangle in this university. You have mentioned some others. As concern of our ministry, I would like to briefly talk about 3 issues. The first is open access, by which I understand open publications, access to publications. So, following not only European Union, OECD, UNESCO, and other international organizations, but first of all, relying on reflection and very, very strong bottom-up pressure by numerous organizations, of which Alek Tarkowski mentioned just before. Previous minister appointed group for open access, which prepared 2 documents. The first are the direction for development of open access in Poland. It's a kind of soft recommendation addressed to ministry itself and to funding agency, as well as to universities and research group as well. And the second document is a plan of action, so a kind of concretization of previous strategy, addressed mostly to the ministry itself and to funding agency. And in plan of action, we are dealing with such questions like planning, coordination, training and information, aggregation of metadata, orphan repository, change of criteria in research performance funding, change of criteria in funding of research journals, and many others. So now it's time to implementation of plan of action, and we do hope very much that it will be our task for upcoming months. The second thing is that we plan to organize in autumn a conference on open data, and thus initiate the other very important and interconnected chapter of open access. We decided to make it together with Codata, probably the most known, but not the only organization dealing with open data. And we invited to Poland Geoffrey Bolton and Simon Hudson, which chair Codata. They were extremely helpful to us. We plan to invite for this Polish conference to invite many foreign guests from European Commission of European Union, Codata, and other organizations, and to invite at this conference people from Academia, university and non-university institutes, libraries and repositories, business, government, and third sector institutions. And the further goal of this conference will be to prepare roadmap for open data. So we assume that there will be other tracks compared to preparation of documents concerning open publications. Well, and the last thing is that we are trying in the ministry thinking about massive online open courses, but well, just we have started to think, by which I understand some preparatory studies. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If I may add just one thing, I think at the level of higher education, you mentioned this bottom-up pressure, and this is interesting. Poland has some Poles have some sort of knack for this kind of activities, and we see our coalition started in 2008, but for instance, 3 years ago, a much more informal movement called the Citizens of Science formed. And now I don't know whether such phenomena happen in your countries. In Poland, this is clearly something special. This is a group of mainly young researchers, but you know, obviously it's a very varied group from all disciplines, which feel that's forming sort of a civic committee that formulates policy proposals to the government is a good idea. And what's even more, this framing of policy by such very informal bodies with this very strong civic framing works very well. So the document prepared by this group, the Citizens of Science, has been received very well, and over 2 years they became a really strong sort of actor in policy debates. And what's for us important, this is not a open education or open access activist group. Their goals are much broader. They're interested in the quality of education, in the way the scientific system functions, in the way their careers develop. But among a dozen or so recommendation, open access and openness is there. So this is another thing I think that's important in Poland, that we're able to build this cooperation, that, for instance, our coalition works with this group and sort of supports them in this one aspect that we're very good at, allowing them to have a position on this issue as well. And currently we're a very similar group called the Citizens of Education is developing, and we can see the same pattern repeating. I would like now ask, moving to school level K-12 education, ask Kamil Śliwowski to talk a bit about his perspective.
Thank you. So typically on those kind of panels, I'm the one guy from Poland who complains about the Polish myth of success, because I don't believe quite in a such success story about Polish openness, but maybe this will allow you to better understand what happened in Poland. It's not that I don't believe in a success about digital school and openness in Poland. I kind of see it in a different way than just a success story. And I think Alek mentioned brief history facts about what happened in the last 7 years in Poland. And I just wanted to add some points of different axes that happened before digital school and before Polish, the Open Polish project and the Turn On Polish textbooks, which were a lot of different stuff happening in open practice, not in openness of education in K-12 or higher education. Because what happened before Coalition of Open Education even started, it was years of trainings done by librarians, by people at universities, by people from Creative Commons and other open movements and other open foundations in Poland that went all around Poland and just trained and talked about openness. And you see the profits from that 7, 8, 10 years after they started, not at the beginning. And with the ICT projects, with a lot of big projects with government or European funding, you kind of think that the profits will happen at the second or third year, and then you want to see the changes. But it doesn't happen in a such way in K-12 education, especially in K-12 education, because the changes happen very, very slowly. And there's you cannot do a revolution in K-12 education. You can do a very slowly evolution and then try to figure out if you can even see the changes, because they are happening very, very slowly and gradually. It's kind of difficult to even track the changes. So maybe I'm complaining because I'm based in open practice, so I don't just want to see the regulations, the money flowing to open education resources. I want to see real changes that are happening at the teachers level and students level. And maybe this is why Polish Coalition for Open Education and myself is often trying to speak about new stuff, not only the success we did, like with the digital school and with a lot of requirements, because Alek mentioned digital school, but probably even the better story that you don't hear about Poland is not just the digital school. The digital school is the biggest program, but we try to track smaller programs, smaller competitions done by different ministries and different public and private grant funders, and probably this is why you are thinking about Poland as one of the best success story in openness, because we don't have just one big program. We have probably 20 different programs in different ministries and public and private both companies who are funding open education resources in different fields, from cultural education to higher education, K-12 education, media literacy, whatever. So a lot of stuff is happening, but just part of those programs really influence what's happening in schools. And this brings me to one problem why we are still complaining, because just after we ended working at the digital school and with the governments, we started working at for copyright reform. So probably this is why we are right now still in work. We are not just partying after having all those regulations in digital school and whatever, because we just moved to the European Commission and start working about and working with European Commission to push forward even smaller chunks of possible copyright reform in educational area, which is of course very, very difficult, much more difficult than just pushing open education resources and money to OER projects, because of course European Union is funding a lot of OERs, but is not making any progress at the copyright reform level, which is very difficult because fair use and open education resources are not enough. So I think we should be honest with ourselves, this is not enough, both in K-12 education and both in higher education. This is not enough, and it won't be enough if we push even further into 3D printing and different technologies in K-12 education and in higher education, because they are breaking the barriers of what is allowed by law, and this will be a problem of next few years for a lot of teachers and a lot of universities. So the open practice right now is happening, of course, and it's happening for years right now. But what's happening in open education resources, that we are not seeing the different consequences of different types of getting to OER as the result of our project. And this is why probably after digital school and after all those projects Alek already mentioned, right now we are trying to experiment more with OERs and with open policies. We try to experiment if it's possible to open practice and openness happen from the bottom, from the teachers level, even from students level, not just from the government level, when it's funded, when it's well structured, when it's planned to have a success in the next 3 years. So that's my belief, that is also very important, but I'm trying to think about stuff that can happen in schools and then be brought up as the best practice in open, as the best practice to create open education resources. So right now, Coalition for Open Education is even maybe thinking about kind of getting back to the roots, to the community building, to the stuff that was at the beginning the most important for us. So trying to figure out who is making open education resources, who is trying to innovate in education and in openness, and bring the best practice and show maybe the best practice to the government, and then tell, this is what you should be founding in the next few years. This is how you should do the openness, do the open education resources. It's not only about having a lot of money for OERs and a lot of different open policies. Open policies are very important, but they should include skills, practice, and competences of teachers, because this is what's making the change in education. And I think this is very important to have this kind of discussion again, because I think we missed sometimes talking about what's happening in school, but not only in a systematical way, but at a very low level of what's happening between teachers and students. So maybe that's my complaint, but I think it should be useful for you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Krzysztof, we've been mentioning quite a bit the digital school project and the open textbooks project, but I feel maybe we think it's too obvious for us and the participants don't know. So I hope that you can say a bit about the project and your perspective as the leader of a key institution running this project.
Can you hear me? Oh, yes. Okay, so good morning, everyone. I was asked to, in 5 minutes, to talk about a project which, more than 5 minutes. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm really glad to be here to share some experiences, especially from technical perspective in one of the biggest, I guess, open educational project for K-12 in Europe or in the world, actually. So, I was thinking, about the most important things that happened over the last 3 years, actually, because we started officially in March 2012, and I think apart from technology, I've learned that in this project the most critical issue was trust, because and engagement, because more than 400 people were actually involved in this project, and for us as a public institution, the critical moment was that we have been invited to this project as a public partner, because there was a big public debate, how to organize this project. So at the end, in this project, we had 3 big universities and 1 private company, 1 publisher, and we as a technology provider. So at that time, I remember one of the first meetings that we had in Ministry of Education, when I had to convince people that open educational resources have been delivered to end users, not in the form of CD-ROMs or USB sticks, because 3 years ago many people were actually talking about delivering open educational resources on CDs or memory sticks. So I said no, that the main medium for delivering content will be internet. And so that was one of the first technical assumptions. The second thing that I had to explain, that we don't want to build another Facebook. So we said that if we want to build a platform for open educational resources distribution, we have to have some unique features and enable people using different platforms, including Facebook, easy integration. So that was the second important thing. Then the Ministry of Education said that, this is the pilot, but you have to cover 40% of the whole population. So that was, the first pilot project which actually covered 40% of the whole population. So I said, okay, it's a big challenge, but the Ministry of Education said that it's not only building open educational resources, but all those open educational resources must be also approved by Ministry of Education. So it means in Poland that that all created e-textbook went through the official evaluation procedures, and they said, okay, you have only 3 years, because that's the end of the European funding period. So we also, that was the deadline, the another push for us. So then I think another important issue was we have many experiences with technologies, different technologies, and we know by experience that the technologies change. And we said, okay, one of important assumption will be to separate data sources from presentation layers. So we force authors of open educational resources to deliver sources, and the platform actually creates on fly different formats for users. So you can get access from web browsers, but you can also get access from mobile apps or generate PDFs. So for us, it was really important to keep high quality data sources in this project, because we know that technologies will change and the platform and the content is prepared to be used in the future. Then I think I was really shocked to see that there are no solutions for disabled people in the digital form. So we also did some experiments, and we managed to create data sources to be able, for some material, create digital files in a Braille language, because there's no automatic way to transform even text-based digital material into Braille, available as an open platform and open resources. So we also experiment with that, and then the offline was really important, because not all schools are well connected in Poland. I know that in the States especially, it's opposite. I mean, many schools do have access to high-speed internet. And in Poland, we are trying to catch up with this also, and I think we will, in 2-3 years, we will change the current situation. But the offline scenario was also important. So we also wanted to give public access to teachers and kids, and we've observed that many people are actually using the open educational resources, not necessarily at school, but at home. And we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So 3 years ago, we were looking for similar projects in Europe, and we end up in some discussion with UNESCO. And on the way to some conferences, I visited Rice University and people from Connections. Not sure if there's someone from Connections from Rice University. So I remember that the first meeting when I said, you know, guys, you have really many experiences, and we would like to at least use some schemas and your experiences, because it doesn't make sense to push or to create new standards. And they said, yeah, yes, I mean, there are some of schemas, but we are actually in the phase of re-implementing our platform. So you can use schemas, but there are not too many software components that you can use. So we actually had to implement from scratch many components, but we really wanted to keep as many open standards as possible, because I know that in many educational initiatives, when people create platforms and they use some technologies and have commercial partners, that then not all of them are actually willing to really have open interfaces. And for us, it was really critical, because the way the open education are used today, apart from our platform, we see many schools, websites, school websites, so based on Moodle or other platforms that link to our platform, or many people taking our resources through APIs to use internally on some platforms. So these are key, assumptions and lessons learned from last 3 years in 5 or 7 minutes.
Thank you. And one key piece of information about the scale of this project, maybe I should have mentioned this at the beginning. If you're not aware, this is a national textbooks platform. So this means it covers the whole core curriculum for classes K-12, so both for primary schools, for middle schools and high schools. What was also important that we sat, and I'm saying we because it was a discussion that was done together by representatives of public administration and sort of the civil side, a strong standard for openness, which I think can be seen as sort of a model solution. It's a standard first that assumes open licensing using a Creative Commons attribution license. Secondly, it assumes an open format, so the content has to be available in at least one open format, no matter what kind of content, be text or video or graphics. And thirdly, the accessibility issue is important. And to be frank, as you said, this is very challenging, but the general assumption is we're not fully there, but that this will meet, for instance, for online content, WCAG standards. And I think even the commitment to do that as part of sort of open thinking was an important step. So we went beyond the simple argument about licensing. Can you say just a bit about, I know it's the platform has been running only since December, so it's 3 months, but can you say a bit about the scale? Because that was the challenge in Poland when the government said 40% of teachers and therefore of the population, because of also of students, will use it. Poles didn't agree. Some said it'll never happen because it will be 100%, you know, the market will be destroyed. No one will want to buy textbooks. But the other half said it'll never happen because it'll actually be zero. Because there's no connectivity, people are not interested in your resources, teachers are conservative and like their printed books. So where are we after these 3 months?
Okay, so the first comments, because our policy was also since the beginning that to be open as much as possible. So we first invited many schools, many teachers. We actually discussed the interfaces, GUIs with end users. But one of the first, and then we also, as you remember, we didn't want to wait for all complete e-textbooks. So the policy was simply, you know, to little by little, gradually publish open educational resources to see, you know, reactions and also see and collect comments. One of the first comments that we received was actually not from Polish teachers. We received many positive comments from maybe, you know, wives of Americans, but, you know, happy people, teachers that are abroad, and they really were happy that they have access to complete e-textbooks in an easy, accessible way. And but it wasn't enough because, as I said, we had to cover 40% of all teachers and all kids, which is roughly 2 million kids and around 200,000 teachers. So, as you can imagine, even if there was a marketing campaign officially supported by the Ministry of Education, even in the national TV broadcast, we've observed, you know, gradually more users interested in the open educational resources, but the peak that we received or we observed was actually when Ministry of Education decided through official channels to ask teachers to try to use open educational resources. And they said, you know, you have 1 week to do some experiments. So then all schools in the whole Poland actually wanted at the same time, actually at 8 o'clock in the morning, get access to open educational resources. And at that time, we had more than 5 million visits per day, which was quite a challenge also for the infrastructure. But luckily, the platform and the resources are distributed through high-speed optical network and hosted on the really big computing cluster and storage facility. So, but it was a challenge. And after that, I think, as you said, it takes time to actually maybe not convince teachers to use, but to change also the way, or they change, you know, the data sources they are using for teaching. I think in May or June they have to decide what books or e-textbook they will use for the next semester, and all e-textbooks for all K-12 levels, as I said, have been officially approved by Ministry of Education. So I expect that many teachers will actually decide to use e-textbooks. The funny thing that we've observed that we've got many questions asking, you know, for giving them access code, you know, and it's because the private companies simply, you know, provide a limited access to educational digital resources. So they didn't believe that, you know, it's public available, and we had to use the argument that it was, you know, publicly funded, so it's public available without access. You don't have to even log into the platform. I mean, if you log in, you have extra features, but you don't have to have an account. You don't have to have any access code. It's simply, you know, public available. But they didn't believe. I mean, it was shock. So as I said, Currently, it's I think more than 50 million definitely visits, and I keep fingers crossed, for the future. We'll have to maintain the platform, but the Ministry of Education is planning also to add additional digital educational resources. Also thinking about new courses. So we'll do our best to support those activities.
Thank you very much. Krzysztof, you started talking a bit about the impact, how it's being used. I think this is a sort of a key moment where we are. I even personally feel that for a very long time our work is focused on the provision of resources. What we really wanted to achieve is just to see some open resources available. And that was, I think, an important sort of goal to have, but now having these resources, it's a lot more question about the impact, and most significantly, is there impact on the quality of education? So I wanted to ask you that, and maybe starting with Professor Kąkol, in a way your repository, as you mentioned, is one of the oldest resources, and you have therefore at least several years of experience with this functioning within your university. Can you say a bit about how you see this impact?
You have to view it from the 2 points of view, teachers and students. Students are welcoming all these resources very warmly. They're using it. For 1 year, I was checking how many times my book was just downloaded. It reached like 40,000 per year. So people were using it. But the question was, one of the sentences was that when we are dealing with this education, open education materials, and we want to improve our access to this, we are facing different troubles, different problems, and the question is it good or not? Or if it's so good, why it's bad? So at this point, I have to mention 2 fundamental problems at the university with the open education. Both are from the point of view of the teachers. One is our system of the career at the university. The other is the mental barrier for the teachers. The first one is very simple. If I want to have a better position at the university, if I want to be a professor, I have to publish as many papers as I can and as fast as I can. I have to gather the money to the university through the project grants. Honestly, I don't have much time to work on educational materials. That's obvious. And what counts in my career, how many papers I do have, how many citations I do have, how many money the university has from my projects. That's the key factor. And my educational resources do not have such an impact on my career. So we are not encouraging the people to do it. The other thing is the mental barrier. People know that if they will go open with their materials, they are also open for the criticism for the other people who are around, other teachers. Usually the criticism comes from the people who didn't write even a single book or didn't prepare even a single open educational material, but it's a fact. If you're teaching in 4 walls, okay, you're interacting with the students and you're open to the criticism of the student, but that's all. It's not coming public. When you are going public, the situation is completely different. And people love to be in the situation that there is no criticism with respect to your activity, because after some time, you're coming to the conclusion that you are not making any mistake errors, that you are perfect. Nobody's criticizing you, so it has to be that you are ideal. And of course, these are the 2 barriers: the model of the career at the university, and the other, this barrier. So as a result, I think that to say what's the impact of the open education on the quality of our education, we have to look 2 ways. First, it's not that great because the number of the people that are involved in the open education practices is limited still. It's too low, definitely. So we can't estimate really seriously what's the impact. We don't have that many people involved in this. The other is what it means. We have to work on it, of course. We have to promote it. We have to say to them that it's very important to their career. The other thing is when you're talking to the students, they are sometimes even disappointed that there is not enough of an open educational resources, that the open access to the materials at the university is not satisfying them. So I would say that's the one thing. And one thing that I would like at the end say, okay, we are at the technical university. And I have to say it. The language we are using in the education of engineers and in the basic sciences like mathematics, physics, chemistry, we are using a mathematics language, which is not easy to communicate. It's not very narrative. So we have to take also some correction for this, what I've said. To prepare the materials for engineers, it's not easy. The materials that they can easily follow. It's not easy to build a dialogue in the mathematics language. So we see some barriers coming from the system. We see some barriers coming from the people and from the fact that we are at the technical university. But I strongly believe that the key factor is the promotion of this. We have to convince the teachers that it's good for them to go public. All my mistakes, all my errors in my books were caught in the first year. The people were writing to me, I make improvement, and my book is much better than it was, let's say, 20 or 15 years ago when I started. So you have to show the advantages. I would say, no matter what people will say, the impact of the open education on the quality of education will go up, definitely, and we'll see it soon. And the people who will not go with us, they will soon be somehow excluded from the teaching. I don't say that we have to go 100% for the open education. Usually we do a blended system. That's obvious. You can't do laboratories at the technical university using online web materials. You have to touch the experiment. But if you want to really help the students, just go for that. And that's how we see it from the point of view from our university. Those three things. First, the way we advance at the university. So it's the system barrier. We have to change it. The other way is how we have to change the mental approach to the open materials from the teachers. And the third one, we have to activate the students, that they will show to the teachers that they are expecting such resources. Thank you.
I need to ask you one thing, sort of a personal thing. So, and I agree that there are all these barriers to becoming a creator of open resources, and without these creators, and Kamil talked about it, we don't really have open education. Yes, we can probably ask some companies to create resources for us, but that's not the same. So why did you create these open textbooks in physics?
You won't believe it. The story was like that. I wrote the first book, and of course it was a classic book in the early 90s. It was printed and was brought to the bookstore and it was sold. So two companies asked me to write the next edition of the book, improve it, and so on. And I say, okay, I will write the book and I will bring it to you. And I don't want any money for that. I'll give it for free, but there is one condition. On the shelf in your bookstore, the cost of the book should be lower than a Xerox copy of the book. And they say, you must be crazy. It won't happen. I say, why? I'll give you the whole text, camera ready, with all the drawings, all the graphics. It's ready for printing. It's made professional. So why you are hesitating? I say, no, no, no. Then they start to counting how many companies are on its way and distribution and so on. And what are the costs? I say, okay, forget it. I'll bring it and put it into the internet. I would start it. Then the reaction, so it was a kind of anger that brought me to this point, and disappointment from the reaction of those editing companies. But then the reaction from the students was so enthusiastic. They say, okay, that's the way to go. And I am a fan of education, so I think that's the primary role of the university. The primary role of the university is an education. The science is the motivation for it, but it's not the primary. And we don't have to forget it. And unfortunately, because the money stays behind. So we are in the position that, and I am doing the same. I've got 5 grants. I'm publishing all the time the paper. Sometimes I'm very surprised what I have written in this paper, but that's a separate story, not for today's discussion. The reason was very simple. It started in a strange way, but then I see the reaction from the students. And that's what I'm talking to our teachers. Do it. And the reaction of the student will go sometimes beyond your expectations. Do it. And then how it's happened. So, but nobody's perfect, so remember that.
If I can add something, because I totally agree, and this is the same situation in K-12 education. It's a matter of motivation of the authors to create and open their materials. And one story, because like two weeks ago I was at a study visit in the Rijksmuseum. You probably know Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam. This is the best success story of GLAM, open GLAM sector right now, probably. And they told us about what were the beginnings of their opening all the collections and pushing to the public domain mark and CC0 and making all the collections digital and available in the highest formats possible. They can send you TIFF, 400 megabytes for free. They don't even want to have a recognition of the museum, so you don't have to even attribute the museum. You just attribute to the author of the public domain. So they're like the best practice right now, and they told us about the two things that made the whole museum and the staff being for the change, for the openness, and it was simplicity and benefits. So they counted money, and they saw that the benefits for the museum will be to publish the whole process, the workflow, as being for the open materials, for the public domain, not just a workflow for selling those digital copies. And this was the benefit. It was cheaper, it was better, it was faster, so it was better for all the staff. And the second one was if we can see the benefits, and we will have more money at the end of the year without all those stuff we need to sell the digital images. We can just have more money with putting those images online for free and open, it will be better. And then the simplicity, they were searching for something that will be the easiest way to make their mission at the core. So their mission as a museum is to make those stuff, maybe not make the paintings available, but to promote those paintings. And they just saw, okay, this is the openness at the level where it's simple and it's benefiting the institution. So if we can see benefits and simplicity in institutions, we should see the same for teachers and for creators. They need both to see the benefits of openness, and they need to see how it's making their life simpler. If it's not making their life as a teacher or as an author simpler, and they don't see any benefits, they won't do it. And this is the part where it's the most difficult, because this is different in different countries. You go to Belgium, they have different motivational programs for teachers than Poland and in different countries. And then it's not only about money, because sometimes it's about attribution, sometimes it's about some cultural stuff. The teachers in different countries needs to be motivated. And we are not talking about this. We are talking more and more about values or policy. And we are not talking how policies and values should resonate with benefits, personal benefits of the authors, of teachers, and of academics. Thank you.
Of course, there's nothing wrong when the teachers are making the money, but the story goes different way. What we are thinking also about the students. They have to say to them, okay, you have to learn at my physics course from 5-6 different books that you have to buy in the store or to get it from library, and this part comes from here, this part from here. It's much easier to prepare your own textbook, but that's my point of view. But the other story goes like that. We've got enormous amount of unique courses that goes for 3-4 years because of the world is demanding from us, the outside world is demanding to start such a courses. For example, we've got the only one in the Europe faculty of drilling oil and gas, dealing with all these problems. So there are not available materials at the market. So people are writing their own books, but they are writing it in a different way. Of course, they're preparing the textbook, and they are making them available through the open access through our library. But it doesn't it's not on the Creative Commons license. You can read it, but you can't copy it. You can't take any part. You can't use it freely in the sense. So you have to distinguish between this, what our academics are doing when writing a textbook. Most of them are putting this book in the digital form on our library platform, but it's only read-only text. It's not a book like my book. Anybody can take any part of it, drawing, picture, text, and can do whatever he wants with it. It's a different approach. We have to understand that some of the teachers are willing to, maybe they are afraid of the competition, I don't know. But you have to look at this, that is a long time process. We have to convince them. But all the environment is trying to do opposite way, to say, forget about the classes, think about the science. And what's more important, I have to say that I am vice rector responsible not for their education, I'm responsible for the science at this university. But even though I have to admit that education is the number one.
Thank you.
Maybe just about the impact. I forgot to mention, but there is what we've been observing. There is a real concrete impact also on the market. I mean, I remember 3 years ago, as you also mentioned at the beginning, there was even big fight between the paper business and the open access initiatives, and we have been observing that we actually at the 2 cents to stimulate the digital educational market, because there's some companies asking for the open educational resources, and they would like to improve the quality of the resources and sell to for instance to teachers. And if there are some teachers who are willing to pay, I mean, I don't see any conflict. I mean, as long as we also have many teachers receive thousands of comments, remarks to the open educational resources, but doing our best, to fix typos or change the content. So it's an ongoing process. But I see, also the impact, real impact on a digital educational market. So that's our, experience, since we launched officially the e-textbooks.
If I can add to that, I think that was during the last 5 years a very important and different discussions we had in Poland about resources in a way as a market goods. It would be nicer to just talk about educational resources as teaching materials, but there is obviously a market component, and a big debate in Poland, the policy debate, was about how to shape this relationship between open resources and markets. And again, I think we made big progress. So we moved from a space around 2011 where even our coalition would have really heated debates with publishers, to a space where at the end of last year and over this winter, and also together with Krzysztof's institution, we built this working group where we had IT companies, we had the best schools using IT technologies, we had public institutions, we had our coalition, but we also had the publishers, and we were able to write a shared document on a model of a digital school, which included language around openness, which was shared, which was a big advantage. I think the reason this was possible, that this is also a big change that happened. Poland moved from a model where parents pay for textbooks to a model where they're publicly subsidized. And this is actually the model that dominates in Europe. I don't know how that is abroad if you're if you come from beyond Europe. But in a situation where there is a provision of funds to the market, of course the publishers will always want this subsidy to be bigger. But once you sort of negotiated at a certain level and there's money to be made, they will, I think, accept the open model because it becomes complementary. If you ensure them that there will be funding for the public resources. And I think that's a big sort of question for the future, whether that's really the case, that we can have a complementary system of printed commercial goods and online, or digital commercial goods and open online goods. I think we're even as our coalition, we're changing our approach. I think at the beginning there was a lot of discussion that you can move to a fully digital, fully open system where these will be publicly funded, publicly available resources on the internet. One of the sort of first moments where we realized that's not that simple is the connectivity issue, which you already mentioned. And I think this, for me personally, this was interesting. I remember when I read the Paris Declaration, and there's a big part in Paris Declaration about availability of internet in educational institutions, and I felt, you know, this is not open education. We want to be talking about licensing and legal aspects, but I grew to realize this is crucial, and in a way, today I think you cannot separate open from digital, and in Poland, really and this is, I think, actually very good. We're reaching a point where debate on open education is a debate on digital education. So, for instance, when the government declares that by 2020 they really want to fix the situation of elementary schools and provide high-speed connectivity, hopefully fiber, to every school, which is not the case today, we feel that's a very big change, not just for education, not just for digital education, but also for open education. But I need to add that the challenge there is that people tend to forget about the open part. We did some research on how to talk with people about open and talk about these changes that are happening, and we realize it's very easy to tell people about digital education. They can sort of understand what it means that you can have a textbook in a tablet or a textbook that's available at home on the internet. But explaining to them that open bit, the fact that it's reusable, that it's elastic, that it gives some freedoms, that sort of gets sort of lost, we felt, in the translation. Just to be very blunt, we did a picnic, an educational picnic, where people could throw bundles of textbooks, you know, like the way they do at the Olympics, the hammer throw. And that gave them a real clear sense that it's not going to be heavy anymore. But how do you illustrate at a picnic that it's going to be open? That's challenging, but maybe you have some thoughts about this, because that's also the question of how to involve, be it academic researchers at university or teachers in an open textbooks platform. And this is what Kamil described, the challenge we're facing. So what are your ideas how we can improve this engagement?
So I think there are many issues. First, from a research perspective, I think it's a completely new world. I mean, you cannot imagine working with kids, you know, what kind of expectations they have. To be honest, they don't want to read about exercises. They want to do exercises. So with Internet of Things, with completely new software delivery models, we have realized that we actually have to have open, we call it a future school laboratory, so open space when we are designing or building new solutions for using virtual reality, augmented reality, sensors, etc. Then we have to be really, really close to kids and teachers, and then you actually can collect ideas, scenarios, and be, you know, very, very close to them. And think someone mentioned that the open educational resources are as bricks. The way we see K-12 and digital education, it's more about Lego boxes. So in addition to boxes, you also have some concrete educational scenarios defined. And I think it's more important at this stage, not necessarily to have more open educational repositories, but actually to have really interesting educational scenarios and involving many different technologies, not necessarily only open digital documents, but also application. And it's also getting more and more complicated, because it's much easier to create open e-textbooks with text than to create or develop interactive application and then maintain, sustain, you know, the software in the future. So it's not going to be an easy task. So I think we did the first step, and now it's getting even more complicated, because we believe that in the future, kids, teachers will be more mobile, and I think the learning process will be performed, not necessarily within schools, but in many different places. They're gonna have many gadgets, sensors, they're gonna use it, so more interesting open educational scenarios we will have, the better for kids, the better for us.
If you don't have any comments, let's maybe see whether any of the participants of the conference have any questions. Maybe you want us to clarify something. Oh, please. Do we have?
Hello, thank you very much. I found this so interesting. My name is Barbara Ilowski from the United States, and I am an author of a university-used open textbook, Introductory Statistics. And I really found it fascinating with what you were saying, because I am an early author, and I received a lot of chastising from colleagues who did not write a book and had never planned a book to write a book, but were angry that my book was open and free, and especially that we used the Creative Commons Attributions license, and it was published by Connections from Rice and then OpenStax College, and they were mad that I might be giving something away that somebody else could make money on, and I wouldn't. And what I found was it led to innovation, so that the for-profit companies could do innovative work. But I was curious if you experienced the same, that your colleagues actually from around the country felt that it was almost inappropriate to put your work up there for free for everyone.
Unfortunately, yes. The answer is unfortunately yes. But they are not saying this in an open way. I would say in physics it's a little bit different. At our laboratory it says to work here you don't have to be crazy, but it helps. But this is a little bit different story. But I face many times this situation that people who were writing the open text were complaining that their friends are pointing their fingers at them and saying, "Oh, you were just changing the market for the books that we are writing for the years. We got some expertise and we are making some living on this. And now you are introducing your own books." The answer is, so you have to have a better book. You need to have a better material. Well, I would say much better than my open, because my for free may be a little bit worse, but it's free. So the only way, if you want to compete with me, make something much, much better. You always get a chance. That's the simplest answer that I am giving to them. It's like they're complaining about my computer simulation. I'm doing computer simulations on some physics phenomena. And the guy's saying, "Oh, these particles are moving this way and it should go that way." I'm immediately saying, "Okay, I'm giving you a full code of my programming code, open code," and say, "I don't need it. I don't know how to make a program. I'm not familiar with programming." So I'm saying, "Okay, so you have to find somebody else who will write the program for you. And it should be a little bit better than mine, then it will work. If not, then it will." Always the thing is, if somebody is telling you that it can be done in a better way, that's obvious. It's true. Of course it's true. But the problem is the person who is telling you this has any experience? Does he know how much time-consuming is that? It's the same story. If I'm going for the class, I got a 1.5 hour class, and somewhere they count these hours and they pay me salary. If I'm spending the hours talking through the internet with the students, giving them advices and answering the questions, consulting them, nobody's counting my time and nobody wants to pay it for. So you have to be a real teacher. That's the simple answer. And for those people who are complaining, you can always say to them, "I know that you are very smart. You are much better than I am. So you can make a much better book and much better material." Yeah, but that's the thing we all know. If you are a scientist, that's very hard profession, because when you are moving around, you always meet the people who are much smarter than you are, who are really clever, much wiser than you are, and you have to face it. That's true. That's the scientific world.
My name is Dutra. I'm from Brazil, University of São Paulo. And I think although we have lots of very good quality resource all over the world, I think we need more local flavor resources. And to do that, we need more local creators, or remixers, or revisers. So to have more local revisers or remixers, we need a very easy tool to do that. I understand that you already have one, and I would like, if you can, to share some experience of the teachers using this tool to revise or to mix the resources. Thank you.
So I can make one comment that from our perspective as our coalition, that's, for instance, the challenge with the Big Open Textbooks project, and this was sort of a debate on the approach sort of between providing content or making content openly available, that in the end the platform doesn't have an authoring tool. It's a platform that lets you you know, use resources but not reuse them as a teacher. And this is something, for instance, that I hope, and I know you feel the same as your institution, but in the end that's not the decision yet of the government, to move in this regard. And it's not there are technical aspects. I agree when you say this has to be an easy tool. You can also do it in a way that it's not easy and no one will want to touch it. But as Krzysztof described, a lot of the technical and interface issues have been solved, and then it becomes sort of an issue of educational policy, which either assumes that you want to create a situation where you give teachers tools, where you give them encouragement, where you create programs, where they become active in using resources. And I really like your examples, for instance, from Belgium, of the Class Cement platform, where they really try to work with the community of teachers to do that. Or you assume that that's maybe of secondary importance. And I think I would describe this as a very big challenge for us in the coming years, whether we can move the textbooks project in that direction. But similarly, in higher education, whether we can, for instance, create some kind of a project supported by the Ministry of Science that takes examples, for instance, from AGH, because the sort of the template is there how to do it, and the tools are there and how to scale it.
So I didn't mention actually a very, very important thing, that in this project we actually started creating platform. In the same time we had, as I said, more than 300 or 400 people asking for tools for, you know, building the content. So that was really, you know, a big challenge, and we have realized that many of them, really many of them, would like to use many tools that are using, like, you know, for instance, Word, just to, you know, to collect quickly ideas and you know, at least have, you know, create some text. So the platform has been designed in a way to be connected with many authoring or editorial tools. So my message is simply don't try to come up with new tools for authors, because they actually may not accept, you know, new interfaces. Simply, you know, spend your time and do as many integration activities as possible. So use as many tools as people are using and connect or try to use those tools to get, you know, sources from different places. And if we didn't go that way, I think it wouldn't be possible with a limited time to collect, you know, inputs from authors, editors, because it was simply, you know, too much. I mean, at the end we have thousands of objects for multimedia and interactive components. It's really a bit complicated, because you simply not only writing a text paragraph, but you actually write a piece of software. For the multimedia, it's also another story, because you actually have to create the multimedia, the video, in an appropriate format and deliver the file. But then keeping open standards and interfaces, you actually can promote and integrate many tools available today. So.
If I can add, in less used languages, like Polish as well, it's a very difficult language, probably like 10th or 9th, the most difficult probably in the world. So a lot of those resources that are in Polish, they happen in very different platforms, like they happen on local computers of teachers in Word or maybe in Google Docs. So it's very difficult to make those resources, to bring them somewhere up, so make platforms. And this is a very difficult question, because most of the OER platforms built locally, like the digital, I love digital school platform, which is like well based on user experience methods. You worked out a lot of different difficulties that weren't worked out before in different platforms in Poland. But still, most of them are not very simple to use for teachers. So if they make their local language, the resources they are using, the best tools they can have, which is Google Docs probably, or Microsoft Word, or maybe like in Europe right now, learning apps, if you know learning apps for a lot of teachers. And this was translated in a few other languages, so right now it's in Polish as well. And this is one difficulty we have, that most of the OER projects are not ready for a mass scale use, because the interfaces are not good enough. I like Tutori, which is like the author of one of the German platform is right here probably, which is based on a very simple idea of just forking the resources. I want to meet Joran personally, probably, he's somewhere here. And the idea is that most of teachers, they are afraid of making their resources public in their languages because they are not good enough. So this is one case with being a very good author. They want to be a very good author. They want to publish their, maybe not a textbook, but just a part of the resources. But they are making it just in a draft version. So it's ready for their pupils, it's ready for their friends, but it's not ready to be published online. And this is where policy should go and try to fix that, because it's not just about making the resource open, but helping them, giving them some kind of a support, different in different countries probably, to make this the last mile, to publish these resources, to maybe correct their mistakes, to make the redaction, the end process, editing process, and then you can publish a very good resources. And this is like the shift from what you are taking. They are making a lot of different stuff. Most of them would be just flooding the platform, and there's the space where we are not covering right now, making the last edits for the teachers, because they are not able, especially K-12 education teachers, they are not able to edit themselves the last parts of the resources to make this good enough to be publishing. And if it's not good enough, they are afraid of publishing, of course, and they are not making their resources open.
I think we had many discussions, and we also asked actually teachers and kids what are the key features you would like to see on the platform. And they actually didn't point or ask for editorial tools. They actually ask for simple notes they can make, on a text. So we've discussed this scenario and end up with the relatively simple feature, which gives you an ability to put any link you want to your own resources. And with the cloud-based services, you can actually quite easily create the additional material in PowerPoint, publish, or create a video, put on a YouTube, and you can simply link with the core material your additional resources and create your own e-textbooks on your account. So instead of changing, the editing in text, you can simply you fork it, or you add, as many additional resources as you want. So that's the current status. Maybe we will add, more social editorial tools, But I don't think it's that critical. I mean, I believe more in integration and the added values, services, and synergy out of such integration.
Okay, it's time to finish our session. I think it's very interesting how we, in the end, started talking about practices and interfaces and tools that help them. I personally am a bit fixated on policy issues. I have a goal for Poland to have a general open policy for resources. We made a big step. I forgot to mention last year that the funds from the European Social Fund, which is a really big funding source of European funds, especially for education, which goes into billions of euros, billions of zlotys, introduced an open licensing rule. That's a big win for us, but I'm happy to see that others will focus on the non-policy parts, because of which this will all work. So just to end, I'd like to ask you, can you make some final comments? I would be very happy to hear what, from your perspective, are the key things to do. Do you want to start?
Thank you very much. I want to say that this conference is mostly devoted to, for talking about contribution of open education, open research, open data, open publication to research and education itself. However, what is very important to say that it's, well, open data, open publication, first of all, open educational resources, it is, well, kind of building block of new future of the new production revolution of open society, and we all know it's great input to the new education, new communication, new energy logistic, manufacturing, production. So I would only want to say that it's, well, part of big change described among many authors by Jeremy Rifkin in his famous book Zero Marginal Cost Economy. And especially I suspect that the most important motif of Alek action is contribution of open education and open science to open society, open democratic society.
The main conclusion is about the cooperation. Let's cooperate, not just sharing the materials. They are by definition open, so you can openly access them, but let's share between the teachers and the universities the best practices and also the software, the IT platforms, all this stuff that can help to create the open access materials. Really, the future is in the very close cooperation. Thank you.
So I wouldn't be probably even working with Alek if I wasn't a fan of policies as well. But my conclusion, not only from this panel, but maybe for last years working both in Polish projects and trying to figure out what are the best practices from all around the world, from open education resources projects all around the world, both governmental, non-governmental, at universities, that it's cooperation, of course, and the second one, we need to be more flexible. And I think this is part of what we will be talking at the OER Policy Forum Thursday, that there are very different paths we need to consider, how it's the best way to success at openness at university or at K-12 education or at the government project, or if you are just making your, I don't know, school open policy, or one school being open by a teacher or by maybe a group of parents who want to change something in their school. So there are very different ways to get things done in openness, and I think we should discuss more different ways, more local, more flexible to different needs of different authors, different groups of actors in openness. And so this is, I think, what's already happening, that we are not just talking about resources, not about just the technology or money or policy. We're figuring out what are the best ways to even make it better.
my conclusion. I think that the education, teaching, learning is an emotional thing, and I think my advice is don't put technology on, as a first place. At the end, humans are in the loop. So technology is there and could be as transparent as or should be as transparent as possible. Collaborate, share experiences, and really carefully listen to kids, because they really have great ideas, how to use technologies better than us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope this has been an inspiring discussion that highlighted both dry policies and interesting personal experiences and the interfaces that run between us. Thank you very much, and please enjoy your coffee break.